Hi everyone and welcome to GreenMonk TV. My monthly show is with Rich Lechner again. Rich, welcome back to the show. We're going to talk today about the recently announced SAFE platform from IBM. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. Hi Tom, good morning or good afternoon. Thanks for having me again. SAFE, or the Solution Architecture for Energy and Utilities, it was actually first born back in 2004 when we announced something called Energy Hub, and it's been developed in concert with our partners associated with things like the Gridwise Alliance over the last few years. We announced it formally this year, but it is the culmination of several years of work, and it's an open, standards-based approach, an architecture to allow reusability across all aspects of an energy or utility company's operations, whether that be their customer service, their asset management, the security of the ever-increasing smart grid.
So this is a smart grid solution for utilities. If I were a utility, why would I want to get my hands on the SAFE platform? What's it going to do for me?
Well, first of all, it's not just exclusive to smart grid, although that's certainly an aspect of it. For example, there's a security solutions dimension to the architecture to allow for better security in the smart grid. But it's also about reuse. It's about more effective asset management, which will allow clients or utility companies to do more preventative maintenance to reduce outage times and reduce ultimately the cost to the customer. There's also a customer service aspect of this, improving the customer experience. Ever more important as utility companies move away from their traditional sort of one-way discussion with the end consumer, where sort of they're sending the consumer, reading the consumer's meter and then sending them a bill. It's now much more of a two-way dialogue, and the consumer is craving more information. They want to know how they're using our energy, how they can, and through having more information, how they can modify their behavior, reduce their energy use and their costs overall. It's about the ever-increasing amount of risk and compliance and regulation associated, whether that be with carbon legislation or other regulatory environments associated with utilities. So by having, there's this large quantities of data and documents that a utility company has to deal with, the framework gives them a more effective way of dealing with all that information. Those are just a few examples.
Okay, and so it allows the utility companies to roll out, for example, a customer information portal, so customers can look in and see their consumption. Can they also adjust the behavior of their devices using this?
It does provide them with the ability to modify behavior based on better monitoring of the end assets, yes. So probably best to, if I sort of frame, there are 7 key elements that the SAFE framework addresses, and maybe by outlining those, it'll give the audience a little better understanding. So asset, device, and service monitoring is one piece. And this is where you can actually look at all aspects, whether it be the switching stations, elements of the grid, or in fact, end devices. There's asset lifecycle management, and this area really addresses the idea of monitoring the assets and allowing you to do more preventative, proactive maintenance, as an example. The third area is this notion of informed decision making, and this is about sort of data and information aggregation so that you can begin to, the utility company can begin to get different insights into the business, correlate different, analyze and correlate information, particularly important as we move to a smart grid, because now what you're going to find is as you have distributed generation, the potential for distributed storage, and you have more intelligent choices being made by end users, there's a lot more information to be analyzed and then responded to. This fourth area that we spoke about briefly, the idea of improved customer experience, sort of delivering this convenient sort of information in a portal-like environment, allowing the end consumer to have more information, not just about their bill, but about their consumption behavior. The fifth area is what we call business process automation. And this is allowing the utility to sort of manage, model, optimize all their business processes. Again, whether it be maintenance or billing or customer care or anything in between, using SOA principles. The sixth area is regulatory risk and compliance management. And as I mentioned earlier, as there's this increasing amount of regulations, most recently, of course, to do with carbon legislation, being able to deal with that information and analyze it and then make, for example, we have utility companies who are now using this part of the framework to assess the effectiveness of their demand reduction programs. So a utility company in a regulated state, say in the United States, where they have to derive a certain amount of their renewable portfolio from energy reduction or demand reduction from the end consumer, implements these programs, whether it be with residential customers or commercial customers, and then wants to understand how effective that program is in achieving the targets. And then finally, security solutions. As we move to a smart grid and open standards, TCP/IP like implementation across the grid, it does raise the concern of security and access, right? So the security solutions part of the framework delivers more comprehensive security solutions to allow better risk management across the smart grid.
Okay, and you mentioned it's a standards compliant solution, totally standards compliant, so there will be significant interoperability opportunities within it. Absolutely,
and in fact, there are a set of open standards and then industry standards that are emerging. Again, one of the benefits of this is that it's been developed in conjunction with a number of utility companies and other partners across the industry, different layers of the value chain.
And Rich, you have a copy of a book that I had a hand in the crafting of. I was asked by Wiley Publishers to be technical editor of a book, Green IT for Dummies, and you tell me you have a copy of it to hand.
I do. It's right here. IBM also, truth in advertising, IBM also had a hand in providing a great deal of the content to this book. We've had now about 3,300 engagements with clients over the last 24 months in helping them improve the efficiency of their IT environment. So we had a lot of lessons learned to share with the authors of the book. I think it's a terrific asset. There's still so much to be done. And one of the things that, frankly, I worry about is that customers will implement one aspect of improving the energy efficiency of their IT environment and say, okay, tick in the box, I'm done. By reading books like this or other assets, they'll find that there are so many different dimensions of improving the efficiency of their IT environment. And this book does a wonderful job of covering it soup to nuts. Everything from virtualization of servers and storage and network to cooling technologies to addressing the demand side of the equation. How can they address data growth, for example? So it's a really good asset.
Superb. I'm looking forward to having a look at it and seeing how it ended up. I assume it's available through Amazon or somewhere like that?
It is, and in fact, IBM also has a sort of a mini version of the book available via our website, if ibm.com/green, if any of your listeners are interested, and that's available for free.
Great. Rich, thanks a million for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks again for having me.